So what happens in an unconscious relationship? If a couple are not aware and conscious, they tend to behave in ways that provoke and trigger the other. These provocations or triggering actions include: 1. You might point at each other. If you find yourself blaming each other for who ruined the vacation or whose fault it was that you were late for the dinner party, you are being immature. A couple like this has got some growing up to do to be really able to take responsibility, to go after what they need instead of just dumping frustrations on the other partner. You probably have some fairy tale expectations, but you need to break this belief that your partner is supposed to make you happy. Instead of assigning blame in arguments, figure out what you're so upset about, what went wrong, and how to change it now and in the future. You can do this by using the imago dialogue technique attached to this module, which allows you both to listen to the other and really hear what's going on. This useful tool could really help in so many aspects of reframing your communication style. You may find that you bicker over chores. We all have fights. You feel like your partner doesn't do the dishes or is constantly leaving the toilet seat up. As you probably guessed, this is not really what the dispute is about. It may look like dirty socks on the floor, but you're feeling like the other person isn't appreciating your contributions. This is often the way power and control struggles play out in a relationship, trying to get dominance, which is why this phrase is called the power struggle. What's going on relates directly to your experiences as a child and young adult. So instead of fighting over socks, talk about needing to feel valued and ask for help. Learn how to speak up rather than bottling things up. Research, which I have linked to my notes attached to this module, have found that the first 10 years of a relationship, well-negotiated power and control and conflict have been proven to be foundational to the best relationships long term. You get to work through all the difficult stuff. You get to be a better team. If things are just ignored in those first 10 years, the prognosis can be bad because the couple just doesn't have that strong foundation to weather the storms and pains of aging. Couples who rub along together without any real closeness and accept an unsatisfactory relationship are storing up problems for later. Deal with issues now and as calmly as you can, and try to cross the metaphorical bridge into your partner's world to see things from their point of view. Thirdly, money becomes an issue. Fights over finance can strike from a lot of different angles. Maybe one partner is a lavish spender and the other is more frugal, or being short of funds put a constant strain on the relationship. Insecurity about money means you're uncertain about your relationship. Money symbolizes so many things, such as power and love. People think if we have enough money, we'll have enough love. It's very primal. Having resources makes us feel safe and secure. The thought of any scarcity can really trigger some deep primal fights for couples. So it's no surprise that if you and your partner are on the same page about budgeting, that goes a long way to fending off fights and financial shortages. Number 4, you might try and ignore your problems. If you ignore your thoughts and feelings, they're going to emerge in other ways. If you give your partner the silent treatment, stonewall them, make passive-aggressive jabs, or keep frustration pent up inside, you're not going to make any progress towards fixing whatever is bothering you. For some, it's this passive settling, this seething, boiling underneath. It's like giving your partner a middle finger. If you're not willing to let this stuff out, you're not willing to have the intimacy that you could have. Believe it or not tackling things that arise as they arise is really a lack of investment in the long-term health of the relationship. It's potentially dangerous because it allows couples to think they're succeeding for lots of years. But good relationships are worth fighting for. The relationship you want is worth fighting for, literally, so speak up. 5, you might have different sex-pectations. Rarely are fights about sexual intimacy, but destructive disagreements about sex can often undermine both partners' self-confidence. For example, if one partner associates sex with a time to be held, cuddled and feel affection, and if they're not going to get that affection during the day, that puts an unhealthy level of expectations on a couple's sex life. You may try to meet too many needs with sex. Ideally, you're feeling close already, and sex is your way to express that instead of using that to get you close. This is another area where it's up to you to ask for what you need, ideally by using dialogue. I'm sharing a dialogue script about sex to help you navigate this often difficult to discuss area. And believe me, it really works. 6, you may wish that your partner was a mind reader. Just wishing that your partner automatically and instinctively knew what you were thinking about and wanting is not going to make it happen. For example, here's a Valentine's Day classic. It might go like this. She thinks, if he really loved me, he'd know what to buy me or take me to the right restaurant. Or he thinks, she might know that I'd rather be watching the footy than going to the theatre. If she really loved me, she'd also watch the game. Unrealistic and uncommunicated expectations can lead to some major conflicts. Being in a relationship isn't having someone to read your mind. It's saying out loud what it is you need and want, and allowing your partner to know what your yearnings are, what you desire, what pleases you, to really be able to share that. But so many women think, well, if I have to tell him, it doesn't count. Yes, it does. It absolutely does. And men think, I shouldn't have to ask that. She should just know what I want. No, she doesn't. She's got no idea what's important to you. Another thing that might happen is you might fight using words like you always or you never. This is immature. It can be tempting to talk in absolutes like this, but it's probably pretty rare that your partner always does this or never does that. These fights often stem from a sense of helplessness about the other person ever meeting your needs or heeding your requests. The minute we put the words always or never into fight, it's easy to denigrate into versions of first grade type fights, such as, I do not, you do too. Reflect on the childishness of what you're saying and raise your game. It's also a tendency when we're arguing not to listen, really listen to what our partner is saying. While they're talking, we're already thinking about our response and just waiting for them to draw breath so we can get a word in. That's why the dialogue is the way to speak to each other when you are feeling most frustrated and irritating. Even though that's when it might be the hardest to pick it up, that's exactly when you should be using it.